Welcome back to another episode of Sabres versus the Atlantic. My name is Jonah. I'm joined by Christian and JP as always. And if this is your first time tuning in this series, we pit the Buffalo Sabres up against their Atlantic Division foes and talk about the storylines of the team coming into this year, who they added and lost in the offseason, and then directly pitting the lineups against one another and giving our opinions on who we think comes out on top and how next season is going to play out. So this week, we've got the Montreal Canadiens. And this is one we had kind of circled on our calendar for a little bit, just because of how this episode went last year when we did this series. And just a spoiler, if you go back to watch it or listen to it, it didn't age the greatest. I think we'll put it that way. We didn't believe that they were going to do what they ended up doing. I think I made some comments about how I thought Lane Hutson's season was going to go, for example, and just different pieces of their roster. And they made the playoffs last year, a 91-point season, 40, 31, and 11. They were the last team into the playoffs, but they made the dance. We talked about for years now that the rebuilding, quote unquote, Atlantic teams, it was mostly the Sabres, it was the Senators, and then it was the Red Wings. And Montreal always lags behind. But last year they hopped two of the teams and they made the dance. So what?
Props to them.
It was definitely a season to remember for them.
Yeah, for sure. If anyone's a regular listener of this pod, Jonah had a great crash out over Patrick Laine. It's like, oh, he could have, there's another team in the Atlantic that could have used a guy like that on the power play.
I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
Was he on the roster when we did this last year? It might have just happened. It was late summer they traded for him, if I recall. But
I don't know, but either way,
they had a great season.
That's all I'm going to say.
It's funny, though. You say, we were proven wrong, from our episode. It's not like we were very negative that episode. We were pretty complimentary of their team in general. We were saying how they're building, a good core and how they're going to be good for years to come. We basically didn't think it was going to happen that year, but we were pretty complimentary of that team. But Montreal fans found the video or found the pod and didn't exactly appreciate what we were saying.
We didn't say that they were going to be a President's Trophy winner, so they decided to flame us in the comments.
It's look, we all know the challenges of that market. It's a diehard hockey market, and if you don't believe in the best of the ability of their players, it's gonna. They don't like that. When you have some skepticism about Lane Hutson or about Nick Suzuki or Cole Caulfield or going into this season, Ivan Demidov, they have some, they're defensive. They're defensive. My God, what was that one post going around earlier this summer? It was a Montreal fan account was doing mock trades, and it was a Tage Thompson mock trade. Tage Thompson going to the Canadiens for, what was it? It was just a first-round pick, and I think it was Michael Hage. That was it. And all the Montreal fans were like, we are not trading Hage for Tage Thompson. Is it Hage? I think it's Hage, yeah. Great prospect. Really great prospect. Come on.
It's a boat mystery box.
It's stuff like that.
He could be better than Tage Thompson one day, Jonah. You never know.
He could be. Without further ado, why don't we just get right into the team itself and talk about what they did in this offseason, because I mentioned earlier how we kind of group this the rebuilding teams together in the Atlantic, and you know, Montreal is now obviously in that group. They're probably the second highest in that group. But going into last season, I sort of made the prediction that just following like simple trends that, the Sabres had their overachieve year, near playoff push, just missed, and they had 91 points. Then in 23-24, Detroit did the same thing and missed. I think both those years that both teams had 91 points. And this coming into this past season, I was like, this is odd. It's going to be Ottawa's turn to do it. They're going to have the playoff push and just miss out. Obviously, they took the next step and were a overall solid playoff team and had what I think like 95, 96 points. So they escaped that tier. But I think now it's Montreal that's sort of in that, they had that overachieve year, quote unquote, but they didn't sit on their hands. I think looking at their offseason, they strengthened their team. So, looking just at their key departures, Emil Heineman went back in the Noah Dobson trade. He was a solid player in their middle six, but I think you absolutely take Noah Dobson over him. Logan Mailloux obviously went to St. Louis in the Zach Bolduc trade. Christian Dvorak left in free agency. David Savard retired, and then Michael Pezzetta also left in free agency. So, some players that were, they were everyday players in Montreal's lineup. But, I think you look at the key additions. Noah Dobson. Just arguably acquiring a number one defenseman, probably who slots in better as a number two. And they're going to probably have the ability to do that with Lane Hudson. Zach Bolduc, I really loved that trade for Montreal. Bolduc was somebody we were talking about as a hypothetical in a Bowen Byram trade as a potential piece coming back. Joe Veleno was somebody who they picked up for their bottom six, Sammy Blais, and then Kabo Kakinen to help out with their goaltending depth. Listen, I think if you talk in terms of what's coming in compared to what went out, it's hard to argue they didn't have a positive offseason.
Yeah, for sure. I think where the money's made is definitely with those first two guys, Noah Dobson and Zach Bolduc. You kind of stole my thunder. I was going to say that Bolduc was one of the guys that we were looking at in a hypothetical trade for Bowen Byram. Definitely could bolster that middle six for him. And yeah, what else could you say about Noah Dobson that hasn't already really been said? He's been mocked as, potential number one defenseman for multiple teams who are trying to look to acquire him. And I believe the Sabres were definitely one of those teams that I'm not sure if they were like 100% in on him, but the fans would have wanted him to be here because we thought Bowen Byram was leaving, and he's not. And he ended up getting traded to the Canadiens.
Yeah,
no, keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh no, it's good. I was just gonna say, it's like, coming into this, I'm trying to be more. Don't get me wrong, I'm trying to be unbiased here, but I'm a Sabres fan. All right, of course I'm gonna throw a few jabs here and there, and I'm gonna be like, I think that they could jump this team. And I came in and talked to JP or Jonah before this episode. I was like, oh, I'm ready to state my case and be like, hey, I think the Sabres can make this jump. I think this is close. I think this is very close.
Well, we could talk about it more when we get to the lineup comparison. It's hard to illustrate that without looking at their lineups.
This is true.
Yeah, I think it's. I think what makes this sort of frustrating as a Sabres fan, and probably the same as a Detroit fan, for example, is I talked about how the Sabres had that playoff push and just missed out. And Detroit, same thing, had that playoff push and just missed out. The Sabres and Red Wings both kind of sat on their hands in the off seasons after that. The Sabres
I was about to say
notoriously, they're off, in a season where they finished 1 point out by spending the least amount of money, having the youngest team in hockey. All they added around that was, Connor Clifton and Eric Johnson. Those were the roster additions following that season. And Detroit last year, it was kind of similar, just shuffling.
A few tweaks here and there.
Yeah. I mean, didn't they lose Jake Wallman? Wasn't that last?
Wasn't
Yeah,
that was the atrocious? Didn't they
Yeah.
dump him for like?
It was him in a second to
Yeah.
San Jose. And then they
Just
also
gave
lost
him a good player.
Yeah, they also lost David Perron, who went to Ottawa and had a lot of success. So, those were 2 off seasons that I think were sort of both teams kind of sat on their hands. And, Ottawa, they went out. They upgraded their their top pair and their middle 6. I think the one thing, as we'll get to in the storylines, is I think the one thing that they didn't address, which is tough to address, is they didn't go out and get a bona fide second-line center. And I think...
Wait, are you talking about Ottawa or Montreal? You said Ottawa earlier.
Oh, I said Ottawa?
Yeah.
Obviously, I meant Montreal.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, Montreal, the one thing that, I guess if we just want to jump into, one of their key storylines is their second-line center. In terms of roster, there's not, you could perceive weaknesses, but I think the main one is, it's Kirby Dach. He's still their second-line center. And this is year 3 of doing this. And, he's just had horrible injury luck, has not been able to stay on the ice. And, even when he does, is he really second-line caliber? You'd probably say no. And they're kind of betting on that to happen again. And if he goes down, they kind of just have to turn to Alex Newhook. And, they made it work last year. Kirby Dach went down. But when you look at this roster top down, I think that's kind of like the big question mark. Can he finally, turn that around? It's not too dissimilar from the Sabres' own second line center situation with Josh Norris.
I was going to compare him to what we had before Josh Norris. Like if we're going back to last offseason, maybe the offseason before for the Sabres, Kirby Dach kind of reminds me of what Dylan Cousins was here in Buffalo. There's big expectation. I mean, obviously Kirby Dach was traded to Montreal. Dylan Cousins was drafted by us. But either way, both in the second line center spot, both have big expectations and both struggled to live up to it. And yet management is going back again and is saying, hey, we're giving you another chance. We expect big things out of you. We are putting you in a very high minute and like high octane role on this team. We need you to produce. Dylan Cousins here, it didn't work out. Kirby Dach, still to be seen, but yeah, with the injury luck and with just the lack of being on the ice, it's tough, and even going into, of course, now we're stuck with, I wouldn't say stuck with yet, but we have Josh Norris on the team. There's your bad injury luck right there. So maybe we're getting our own version of Kirby Dach and 2 players over the course of 3 years.
And I think everything that has to do with the Canadiens has to go with the storyline I have listed up top. And I think it's just, was last year a fluke? And I don't want to say it's a fluke because, look, 90-point seasons are not, flukes. It's more so, did they overachieve? And are they looking at possibly stepping back? I think that's not completely unreasonable to talk about with them. And I think just everything that has to do with this team stems from that because, the Kirby Dach conversation isn't really one because last year everybody on the team was scoring. And it's just about, is it our step backs due? Nick Suzuki, 89 points. Is he due for, just a little bit of a step back? Cole Caulfield, he had a career year, 70 points in 82 games. Is he due for a step back? Lane Hudson had a monster rookie season, won the Calder. Is there, a sophomore slump? Brendan Gallagher had 20 goals last season. I would assume that that's probably not going to happen again. Jake Evans nearly had 40 points. Patrick Laine had 20 goals. 15 of them were on the power play.
Are you describing the 22-23 Sabres or the 20 or 25
There's
Canadiens?
A lot of parallels there, and I think there's just a lot of, that's why I look at this, I look at last year's team for the Canadiens, and yeah, I do get 22-23 Sabres vibes. They had the same amount of points. It's kind of hard not to see some parallels there. The young team that brings up all the rookies and young guys and makes a heroic push to the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the main conversation you're having here are some guys that were just so good last year, are they going to be able to continue that?
I like to see some advanced analytics on some of these guys. Some of them have, shooting benders. We know some of them did have career years.
Yeah. Well, and also, you talk about advanced stats. I think one of the reasons we're going to think the Sabres are a lot closer than to the Canadiens than most people is, I think you look under the hood and like there is some stuff that, it's not the greatest foundation to build on or to play on with the Canadiens. I mean, Sam Montembeault was a monster for them last season. I think from an advanced stats perspective, I think the Sabres had a better goal share at 5-on-5. And also, the Sabres and the Canadiens had the same goal differential last season at 5-on-5. -20. And the Canadiens made the playoffs with a -20 goal differential. I mean,
Sometimes you get those wins, man. I tell you what, one thing about the Sabres, and I've said it before, there's no clutch gene with these guys. They just cannot find ways to win games. They find ways to lose games. And last year, I give the Canadiens credit because they found ways to win games down the stretch, and that's what got them into the playoffs.
100%. There was one other team to make the playoffs with a negative goal differential, and it was the Minnesota Wild, and they were only -11. It's not, like I said, not the greatest foundation to build your hockey on, but can that be counteracted? If you reasonably suspect regressions from guys like, if Suzuki or Caulfield just take a little bit of a step back, if Brendan Gallagher doesn't score 20 goals again, like all of those things, can it be counteracted by guys like Dobson and Bolduc coming in? So, maybe they step back, maybe last year's team steps back, but if Dobson comes back and is in, fringe Norris talks like he was in 2024, and Zach Bolduc takes another step after what he was in St. Louis, then it's like now the foundation is a lot better.
Yeah, I think excuse me. I think a lot of where the bread and butter is for this next season for them is, can the new guys that they bring, the storyline, can these guys take them to the next level? It's just so many. It's funny though. It's just the more I think about it, give the Canadiens credit. Dobson and Bolduc, way better additions than Clifton and Eric Johnson were. But again, it's like I look around the room and it's just like, this guy had a career year. This guy, had a Calder level season, and he had didn't he have 60 assists? Didn't Lane Hudson have 60 something assists?
6 goals, 60 assists.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's insane. I'm not saying they can't repeat that. All I'm saying is it's like, I need a higher sample size out of this before I see anything.
And one of I think, I'm sure if Montreal fans are listening, I think the big name that I'm probably leaving out of that third bullet point is Ivan Demidov. And don't worry, he's in the.
Do not even.
I think it's just too much of an I genuinely don't know what to expect, because obviously the first game of the season he plays, he's friggin' electric. But he had a tough playoffs, and I just don't know what to expect. And I just think it's such an unknown factor that I also think that just Dobson and Bolduc are much more solid bets. I don't know. I just need to see. I really don't know what to think of Demidov yet. I need to see another season. But he could
he misses the net a lot in practice.
If Demidov comes in and is in Calder conversations, for example, that's going to help take this team to the next step as well.
This is where I'm going to start crashing out a little bit. I've seen more videos of Ivan Demidov skating alone in a practice video, shooting the puck around like he's at an open skate, than I've seen videos of, I don't know, just actual Sabres highlights. and and just like, why are we posting this? Like Bar Down's posting this, and I'm like, what am I supposed to be watching here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just God. It's just that's the annoying thing. It's just like they would like if you saw like Rasmus Dahlin doing some stupid shit like that, and no one's posting that, but it's all over. It's all over social media.
Or I mean, waiting for players at the airport when you already know they're on the way.
That's crazy.
Demidov is on his way to Montreal. I'm gonna go camp out just to make sure he gets here.
I know, like for the Bills, you see like people waiting at the airport sometimes, but that's after a win, or that's after early when they were first making the playoffs.
I think that's stupid when it's for like a regular. I mean, it's less common now because I think we're kind of off topic, but like it's.
Yeah,
I get it. They're hyped.
Let's get back on topic. No one is showing up at the airport to greet an NHL player from overseas.
Yeah, but look, I get it. They're hyped. He's an unbelievable prospect. They're excited about him. He's just such a wild card. So, similar to Hudson last year, obviously Hudson had a phenomenal season. Will Demidov be able to have something similar?
I'm going to track Radim Murtka's flight whenever he gets pulled back over here and wait for him at his gate.
Or Prokhor Poltapov whenever he comes over in 3 years.
Is that ever going to happen?
All right. Lineups. Let's look at them.
Okay.
So, as always, these lines, courtesy of the Daily Faceoff. We'll start with the Sabres. Top line, as always, Benson, Kulik, Thompson. Second line, Zucker, Norris, Tuck, Doan, McLeod, Quinn. Greenway, Krebs, Danforth. Then on defense, Byram and Dahlin. Power and Kesselring. Samuelson and Timmins. Luukkonen and Lyon in net. And then your extras are Malenstein, Bryson, and Zach Jones. Montreal, top line of Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky. Second line, Bolduc, Doc, Demidov, Laine, Newhook, Kapanen, Gallagher, Evans, and Anderson on the fourth. On the defensive side, Caden Gooley and Noah Dobson on the top pair, Hudson and Struble on the second pair, Mathewson and Carrier on the third, and then you have Montembeau and Dobes in net. Sammy Blais, Joe Veleno, and Arbor Jekai are your extras. So, where do you want to start? I always kind of give you the floor. What are you seeing first when you first look at these lineups?
Let's talk about a player, in particular. First overall pick a few years ago.
Oh boy.
Am I crazy to say Uri Slavkovsky hasn't lived up to the expectations that he was taken at?
I think if you're talking about first overall pedigree, yes. Probably not.
First overall.
He had, I think, 50 points last year? Yeah, 51 points. Year over year, he's gotten better. There's improvement. He is, when he had his rookie season, people were like, oh my God, is this even an NHL player? Obviously, that was an exaggeration. People are very hard on the kid. But 3 years later,
is this even an NHL player?
3 years later, he's a much better player. He's he's a top six forward. He had a great season last year. I think, sure, pedigree wise, first overall, was that probably still the pick at the time? Probably not, but who cares? You still get a useful player out of it. I'm sure Montreal fans would have something similar to say about a first overall pick on the Sabres side.
Who? No, but you know what? Like I said before, I really wanted to come on here and just be like, oh, this is a fluke. They're not going to make the playoffs again. This team is, shooting bender, blah, 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 insert, another generic quote. But when I look at the total roster makeup of both these teams, I got to say, it's close. I think it's close.
Yeah, and I think it's
I'll give the Canadiens the forwards. I will. I'll say that they have a better forward group.
It's just going to be two different worlds in terms of looking at this, because we're going to be like, man, I thought the Sabres would line up better, and this turns out to be close. Montreal, they're all thinking like the Sabres, like they're not even in our stratosphere.
I know. Yeah, I know
So,
for a fact when Montreal fans find this video,
Which
they're
I
going to be like,
understand.
"What
Like,
the
they
hell are
finished-
they talking about?"
They finished with 12 more points. I get it. I just,
This is a Sabres podcast, guys.
yeah. Well, it's a Sabres show, and I think there's factors that keep these teams. They're in the same tier. I guess
They're not going to
my
like
thing.
you saying that.
they're in the same tier. They're in the
Okay.
same tier.
All right, Jonah's calling same tier. All right.
But like Montreal,
You know
like
what? Yeah. If you're
core-
if you're tiering the Atlantic, I would see there's only so many tiers. I would say they're pretty close.
Yeah, I think like you have Toronto, Florida, Tampa Bay. They're in that top tier. And then I think Ottawa's probably in their own tier, just kind of like in between that. And then I still think it's the Sabres. It's probably all four of the Sabres, Penguins, Sabres, Bruins, Habs, and Red Wings all fighting for playoff spots.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's just my take. I can definitely tell you that, as always, the center spine definitely favors Montreal. It
Yes.
gets more interesting if you put Thompson there, because I think Thompson and Suzuki are a toss-up. Like, I think they are basically the same. Norris and Doc are basically a toss-up, two very injury-prone second-line centers. I think McLeod is better than Newhook, but Evans is better than Krebs. So if Thompson moves over, it becomes more interesting. But if you have Kulik there, obviously,
Which is very possible this season.
it is.
Thompson
That's gonna be.
going back to center could happen as early as like less than 10 games into the
I was
year.
gonna say, I would say maybe like the week of. It's. I will not be surprised. So, I don't know why that just stopped sharing the screen, but throw that back up.
Riverside tweaking. There we go.
We lost JP. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
if he went. If you're like, man, JP's like really,
quiet.
he's just collecting all his thoughts till the end. No, we have a Wi-Fi issue going on here. Yeah. But yeah, talking more about the forwards. I mean, I think if we're going strictly by his position, like right side, I think Thompson, Tuck, and Quinn gives you more than Slavkovsky, Demidov, and Kapanen. But left side, I mean, Caulfield, Bull, Duke, and Laine and Gallagher. I think that definitely favors the Habs. So I think overall, I think you just kind of have to tip your cap to the Habs. So much of the Sabres is unknown between Kulik and Benson and Norris and Doan. Too many question marks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, the Habs have question marks. Mostly their second line. I think their second line will make or break that team. I'll tip my cap to the Habs.
Yeah.
Defensively, I think it's interesting. I think, if you take the top two defensemen, if you take Dahlin and Power versus Goulet and Dobson, in my opinion, it's very hard not to take the Sabres.
Yeah, you know what? I'm already surprised, probably because of his, his youth. I would be like, why is Hudson not the first pair defenseman? And I'm like, yeah, I forgot. He's a rookie. You don't want to. We don't want to push too hard yet. But
Well, Dobson
yeah.
also, if you ask Islanders fans, Dobson sucks at defense, which is probably overblown a bit. But I think there's some concerns there, so you probably don't want to put Hudson and Dobson together. So that's probably why you don't have them on the top pair there. But yeah, so I think you take the Sabres there, but then it becomes interesting. Byram versus Goulet. I think Goulet's the stronger player, but I think the Sabres have the stronger number 4 in Kesselring compared to. I don't even know who you'd compare. I don't even know who you'd call the 4 for Montreal between Matheson, Carrier, Struble. This screen isn't sharing. I don't get it.
yeah, what's going on?
I don't know. Apologies, folks. So yeah, I don't know where you're at with that.
No, I was gonna say, and this is no knock to the Canadiens. I think they have a fine defensive core, especially with Hudson being up and coming. But there's not going to be a lot of defense cores in this league that I don't take the Sabres over. I think that and it stopped sharing again. Jesus,
I don't know what's going on.
What kind of operation are we running here,
I don't
Jonah?
know. This is bad. We're having a bad night for streaming software.
Well, it happens. But there's not a lot of defense cores in the league that I'm going to take the Sabres over. I'm very high on them this year.
There's not.
No, I mean, I understand.
Just make it sound like you structure like.
Oh, did I work? Did I?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mixed that up. I think the Sabres have one of the better D-cores in the league. I think I'm very high on them this year. Like if you told me that my top 4 going into next season was Byram, Dahlin, Power, Kesselring, I'd be like, great, let's run it.
Yeah.
And whoever's 5 and 6, I'm cool with that.
It's solid. I think it's very
solid.
very solid. That can change quickly. Byram is Byram. We don't know Kesselring if he's really top 4 material, and if those two don't work out, then some shuffling has to be made. But yeah, I think the Sabres defensive group is stronger, especially on the defensive side of things compared to defense. I mean, Hudson, Dobson, and Matheson all have a ton of defensive or offensive output. It's just defensively, I think there's more issues there. But Sabres have not exactly been team defense number 1 the past 2 seasons. In net, Luukkonen or Montembeault?
I mean,
You're going off of last season. It's very difficult.
I'm gonna have to take Montembeault.
It's very difficult not to take Montembeault. Goalies are such a crapshoot because we do this last year, and you're saying Luukkonen, of course Luukkonen is better than Montembeault because he was coming off of a monster season, and now it's kind of flipped. So it's just kind of a crapshoot. And
I feel like we've been having the same conversation about the goaltenders for all these episodes that we've done. We've always been like, oh, I think the other team has the better starter, but we have the better, 1-2 possible punch. And, and then our divisional foe's backup is usually a guy who's not going to play more than 30 games.
It's making me realize what a good division of goaltending the Atlantic really is. It's good.
Wait till we get to. We haven't even done Florida. We haven't done Tampa.
The 8 goalies in the division or I guess 7 other goalies are Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, Stolars, Allmark, Montembeault, Gibson, and Swayman. Goaltending is pretty set, and even Luukkonen, he had the monster year 2 years ago, so it's very good.
It's tough. It's tough to make these decisions, but I'm taking the Sabres.
Overall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I think from this year to last year, I think our defense got better, and I think down the stretch we were playing very well, and we didn't even have Josh Norris in the lineup.
Oh my God!
I had to say it.
What you said, you promised me you were not going to make.
I had to say, I
God
had to do it.
Damn it!
I had to do it.
God, it's just because he switched his number today. He gained a lot more aura.
The aura is back. The aura is back.
But it's offset because Benson took a terrible number. Sorry.
Put some respect on Jim Schoenfeld.
He doesn't play the same. If Benson played defense, I'd feel great.
Oh yeah, when Josh Georges was wearing number 6, I know Habs fans remember that.
No. Was he 6 in Montreal? Because he was number 4.
I swear I've seen him wear number 6.
Maybe he did.
Now
But
I gotta look this
it was
up.
not for Buffalo. Josh
He
Georges,
did. He wore number 6 in Montreal.
Yeah, there you go.
I knew he wore
Club
number
legend.
6.
Any Habs fans listening, at least we can reminisce on Josh Georges, club legend.
Probably having war flashbacks to that guy.
Yeah, I of course I think I've taken. I mean, to this point, I've taken the Sabres overall versus a few of the teams, which I feel like every team. I mean, which I feel like you're gonna get, but the Habs, it's just so. It's tough
weird.
Last year, I was so dead. I think everybody recognized everybody outside the Montreal bubble was like, okay, this team kind of is not good, and like are having that really career year, everything's going right season. But now they've added Bolduc and Dobson, and you have the Demidov factor. So it's kind of like,
So you
which
feel like
side do you pick?
they should be back to
Right.
where they were last year. I feel
Yeah,
like
like,
you're gonna see some step back from
and I don't think
certain players.
I don't know if it'll be like this monster step back.
No,
Like I don't think they're
I
gonna
don't
go.
think it will be.
I don't think they're gonna go back to what they were before this season, which was, did they even have an above 80-point season since retooling before this year? Like, I don't think they're gonna go back to like sub 80 points. Like they're gonna be like an 85-point team. That's gonna be their regression type season, if it happens. But if everything changes, if Kirby Doc suddenly puts a great season together, and Demidov's in the Calder conversation, and Dobson comes in and enters the Norris conversation again, and Montembeau repeats the year he had. But then there's the flip side. It's okay, Demidov isn't the superstar that I think many are expecting him to be out of the gate. Doc has, even if I hope to God he's healthy, because he deserves a healthy season. But maybe he's just not second line quality, and he struggles, and like that's a big issue. And you see regression from like Line A and Gallagher and Evans, lower parts of the lineup. And then, the defense, maybe it's not, reinforced defensively by Dobson. And then Montembeau is just tired out from last year and has his own step back. I don't think any of those things are really crazy to predict. It's just which side of the coin.
I don't think they're all gonna happen, but I
No,
can see some of those happening.
No, I think those are both the extremes. The reality is always probably somewhere in the middle.
I think a good word for next season for them will be growing pains, or a good phrase.
And now
I don't think they're gonna be bad. I really don't. I just feel like last year they just they had their Red Wings, Sabres past seasons where they made it, but we missed by a point.
I mean, you got to remember, like, they had a huge bounce back. They were like 4 or 5 games under 500 in December.
Yeah.
And then they just surged.
They went on a tear.
And, there was some noise, like, was Marty St. Louis maybe on the hot seat and all this? And my point is, now that they've had this great season, now they've got expectations in the toughest market in the sport. And it's a young group. It's going to be their first time kind of facing those expectations. I mean, even Suzuki and Caulfield, they had the Stanley Cup run, but I think everybody in that city kind of recognized, I mean, that was, one of the most Cinderella runs ever, and then that team lost Price, and they lost Weber, and then they went into that retool, and I don't think they ever really felt the pressure of the city. They were just allowed to kind of grow into what they are now.
That was like the end of an era. That was crazy.
Yeah. So now you have, everybody: Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, Demidov, even like Line A and especially Hudson, Goulet, like dealing with now there's the pressure of that big market to repeat, and the temperature immediately gets turned up. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they react to that. If they do have some growing pains, if they come out and have like a 4-6 start in their first 10 games or so, it'll be interesting. So where do we see this team ending up?
Well, what did we predict for Boston and Detroit?
I think we've gone.
They were both behind us.
I think we had the Bruins at I think you had them like mid 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I had them like low 80s, maybe like 78, 79 point season. Then the Red Wings, I think I had them like mid 80s, like 84, I think was my number for them. So I think with Montreal, I think Montreal's like 85, 86 in my most realistic scenario. This is going to be a
really close division. It's going to be very close this season.
I think it is, yeah.
We say this and then everybody's close, and then you see the Sabres at 57.
It was, it was close for most of last year. I mean, the Bruins dropped off towards the end, but that was at the trade deadline. I mean, up until the trade deadline, they were in it. Ottawa was obviously in it. Montreal, everybody. I mean, it was a competitive division, and now I think it'll be much of the same.
Yeah, for sure. I think a good spot for Montreal, I want to say 83, 84 points.
Okay. Like I said, I'll go a bit higher. I'll go like 86. They'll be in the race. They'll be in the race, but kind of on the outskirts, and it'll be a step back, but not the end of the world for that group. Yeah. And I think the biggest wild card is we're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, which is apparently Carey Price's contract is going to be moved, and they could add another piece. So maybe this gets outdated quickly. Maybe they go out and get some random second line center. I feel like was McTavish like linked to them for a little bit? Like that'd be a scary addition. So you never know. But I think with the roster they have now, I think a step back is in order. I think had they sat on their hands this offseason and not added, like even if they just added Bolduc, I don't think that would have been enough. But like Dobson really makes them, I think it pushes their ceiling higher. I think had they not done that, you're probably I would have been looking at like an 82, 83 point season. So I got them at 86.
All
right. I'm ready to be attacked on the internet for all of this.
I'm ready to be called an idiot, like in 15 different French words.
We took a few shots at times. So,
but we gave them their praise. It's a solid foundation for. It's more than a foundation. It's a solid roster, but not everybody can make the playoffs. You can't have 8 teams in the Atlantic. We said good things about the Bruins. We said good things about the Red Wings. We've said good things about the Canadiens. At the end of the day, this is just 2 guys' predictions. Not everybody can make the playoffs. It is what it is.
It's going to happen, and it's all, we could look like geniuses, or it could be like last year, and we kind of look like idiots. So
most of the time, we look like idiots.
It's all for fun. It's all for fun. Please don't dox me. Please don't reveal my location.
I'll dox you. I got your address.
Yes, you do. Yeah. All right.
You just see my name under some like French monogram, and I'm just dropping your address in the chat.
Secret agent. All right. Any other thoughts before we get off?
I'm excited for this old rivalry to be renewed.
Yeah, that'll be fun. They swapped the Sabres last year. They won all 4 games.
And we swept the Senators.
Fancy that. Funny how that works. Hockey's a funny sport like that.
It is.
Okay. That'll do it for this one. Thank you very much for listening. Be sure, if you're listening to this on YouTube, to tell us what you thought in the comments down below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Once again, thanks for listening. Next week, the Ottawa Senators. That's who we'll talk about next. So I think this might be the last time we're able to kind of rank the Sabres above a team.
Yeah, it's going to get annoying
real
quick.
Unless we're feeling frisky in a week. I mean, would it be the craziest thing in the world if they finished above the Senators next year? I don't think it would be insane. But, besides them, they're not finishing above the Leafs.
They have the receipts.
Yeah, they do. They're not finishing above the Leafs, the Panthers, or Tampa Bay. So, next week might be the last fun week. All right, we won't keep you around any longer. We'll see you guys next time. See ya.
See ya.